Hello, and welcome back to Quest and Show, a play podcast where each week a new adventurer steps up to fix a broken kingdom. And on this episode, we have another returning guest from Season 1 of Quest and Show. So, guest, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Emily.
Emily, hello, welcome back to Quest and Show.
Thank you.
How have you been? What's news been in the past 6 months since you've appeared on Quest and Show?
Really, mostly just waiting eagerly to be on Quest and Show 2. You know, re-listening to Quest and Show, just really thinking, getting in the gameplay and, you know, making some trades, like just really getting prepared and ready.
Mostly you've been like, what do they call it like in baseball where you sit in the little dugout, you know, waiting to get
Oh, like
up?
in the bullpen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Okay. Oh, and I guess in regards to sort of like tabletop stuff or anything like that, is any new developments there? You started any new campaigns or anything like that?
I did actually. I'm in a new Dungeon World game, or in a new party in a long-running Dungeon World game called Hemlock, actually. I think that name, Hemlock, might be used in this game, too.
It is.
You know, Snaker, who is another guest on this, he's also in that party, as well as some Swedish European guy, and there's a new player. I can't really remember him, though.
Mm-hmm.
Not too memorable, but, you know, I think we have a fourth guy. Something like John D, something like that.
Jumpers.
Maybe, yeah, that sounds right.
One of those very weird and foreign names that are very hard to remember.
Yeah, one of those strange pseudo-European names.
Yeah. So I guess by one of those things, yeah, I guess in that case, yeah, it's been one of those nice things to just kind of have a campaign happening alongside other stuff like this, because obviously, yeah, like, you know, role-playing doesn't just come in one shape or size. It's, you know, it can come in all sorts of different things, which obviously in that it's a more traditional party of 4 with a GM and a longer running story. Well, this is obviously, it's one-on-ones and they're different characters per episode and different, you know, styles of game. But
traditionally, though, I mean, usually you actually play tabletop games. Like this month, June, we're playing this, and that other game, not so much is that actually happening with schedules. It's
interesting. It's obviously Quest and Show is week by week, but sometimes you're not going to get every week in a traditional role-playing game. So everything, you know, it all gets weighed out in different ways, I suppose. But I suppose, as you're returning, you do know what you pretty much know what the rules of Quest and Show are. You know, what happens when you roll dice, and you know how character stuff works and stuff like that.
You'd think that, wouldn't you?
Oh, have you forgotten that? Have you potentially forgotten elements of Quest and Show, so I could potentially mention what they are again to an audience at home?
I mean, that would just be so convenient, wouldn't it?
That would be incredibly convenient. Well, I'll tell you what, you don't have to answer me. I'll just do it anyways, out of courtesy.
Let's just be safe.
Yeah, better safe than sorry, I always think. So, people at home, before we started, Em was asked to come up with a character who will be tasked with solving this episode's issue at hand. And over the course of the adventure, I'll describe settings, characters, and situations. And then it'll be up to Em to basically tell me how they'd like to proceed with their actions. And most of the time, these actions won't be challenged. However, there may be opportunities where they'll want to take the advantage, say get the drop on someone or parlay for a better deal. Or times where they'll have to defend themselves, either through a little bluffing or combat. And during these occasions, they'll be asked to roll 2 6-sided dice. But that's not quite all, because for each small advantage they may have going into a situation, such as their gear or their special abilities, they add 1 to the final result. But on the inverse, these things may be a disadvantage, removing numbers from a final result depending on the situation. But simply, high numbers lead to great results, and what happened on low numbers the last time we did Question Show?
You let me roll again? Is that it? Until I want to say that's what happens, I think.
We just kept rolling until we got the results we wanted, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. I do think that sounds about right. But obviously, yeah. I think things might have changed a tiny bit between Season 1 and Season 2, but don't worry about that.
Oh, no.
All good. Speaking of which, Em, have you got dice to hand?
I do.
Would you like to do a lucky roll to see how things may pan out?
I love lucky rolls.
Here we go.
I got a 5. So that's a roll again situation, right?
Yeah, I think in this case I'll let you roll again. Let's see if we can get something nice that can happen.
I hope we get something bigger. We got a 5. No, the dice really like this 5 situation going on.
The dice heard me say, "Oh, I'll let you re-roll it," and the dice are like, I don't think so."
Yeah, they don't support any of this cheating malarkey.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh, not so good then. No, 5 is things could.
Well, if you add them both together, that's a 10.
Yeah, that's that's true. That's
really
a big. That's a fair point. That is a big 10, which of course is that's a great success. That's getting exactly what you want. So
it's a matter of perspective what I rolled, really.
Yeah, exactly. Some people will see 2 5s, but some people will see a 10. So yeah, it's
especially if you rotate the perspective 90 degrees by rotating the dice 90 degrees, then I did get a 10. So
if you put your face against the table and you'll see a 6 and a 4, and you're like, there we go, I got a 10. Nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And to the people at home, the rules in the system are linked in the description. But with all of that out of the way, Em, is there anything that you would like to say before we get into the adventure proper?
No.
Alright, good to know. And obviously, just a reminder, your actions aren't just going to affect this adventure, much like the actions of Mario Q Godot from last time seems to ripple into adventures going forward. So obviously, keep that in mind in your decision making.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just want to make this as difficult and miserable an experience for everyone to come after me as possible. I know the objective here.
Yeah, we know how this works. We need to make things more interesting in the kingdom of Trollera. So
Captain Mario Q Godot left his mark on the world like nail scratching on a chalkboard, and I feel like I accomplished what I set out to do there.
He left a mark on the world like a enormous explosion in a village, I think.
Yeah, like a crater where once there was a successful toll bandit business.
A smoking crater from which mafia hats and tribal wear has been scattered across the countryside.
Well, I think Prince Pratt learned a valuable lesson, so...
I think he did as well. The valuable lesson being, try not to use explosives if you don't have to, because the results are a bit much.
I think the real lesson was, real heroes don't leave witnesses.
Very true. And with that, we're heading to Pontiac Lestrade.
Yes.
Because Pontiac Lestrade, tell us a little bit about tell us a little bit about Pontiac Lestrade. Who are they? What should we know about them?
So, Pontiac Lestrade, she's a short little human woman, wear sort of rugged, like, Western-style clothes. Not Western, like, gamer Western civilization, but, like, cowboys and such.
Sure.
She's an archaeologist. There are those who might call her grave robber, but she would call herself an archaeologist. Sometimes it's a bit of a gray line between those two. When she was at university, she wrote some well-received papers, but the sort of running joke the other academics had about her was that one of these days she would just assassinate a monarch so that she could pillage their graves sooner. And, well, it hasn't happened yet, and probably won't happen this time. I hope not, personally. But
hopefully. But what would you say?
And so, she's a practical archaeologist. She does archaeology. She loves to learn and see and appreciate the beauty of, like, tombs and crypts and such. And if she profits from it, well, she's just sharing the fun of those tombs. It's selfish to keep them all there, but the dead don't need them.
Absolutely. What would you say her special skills are? 3 things that separate her from the rest.
So, she's really got good intuition and, good at exploring. She's smart. She went to university. She went to college,
Of course.
Unlike some of us, she graduated. And she's, knows what she's talking about, knows what she's doing, and has a knack for exploring these ruins and piecing things together. Being a bit of a, living on the edge archaeologist, she's also needed to get pretty good at being stealthy, I think. Might need to get past some night watchmen and that sort of thing. Or, you never know who will be selfishly guarding the treasures of the dead.
Of course. What would you say her special something is? Like an expertise or like something that she has on it that no one else does?
So she never goes anywhere without her trusty crew. No archaeologist works alone. Sorry, Lara Croft. Unrealistic. You always gotta have a crew with you. And she always carries her crew on her because her crew is a team of small little animals she keeps on her person. She has a little bat, she has a tarantula, and she has a small snake, which, all have their little, good for exploring dark ruins and caves and stuff like that, and just helping her, sack, the treasures of the dead. And she makes sure to pay them fairly. They all get their cut.
Of course. What are their names?
Oh, they have names? Okay, let's see.
I assume they have names.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they do. The bat... Oh, I got it. Okay, the bat's name is Nostrea, the spider's name is Ariana, and the snake's name is Snaker.
That's an interesting name for the snake, I think. But, a fitting
It's an
one.
interesting snake. It's, it's got a real personality.
Yeah, sounds it. Alright. And I guess finally what I'll ask is, because obviously as an archaeologist, you're only as good as your loadout. So what does she usually bring with her on her work?
Well, gotta have exploration gear, like... you gotta have the tools if you're gonna break into graves. Ruins and, like, explore them, grapple around, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And it gets pretty dark, and you don't want any graveyard night watchmen spotting you with torches, so instead of having a traditional light, she uses magic dark vision goggles that give her, night vision. Let her see in the dark like night animals do.
Yeah. That's, all seems like the sort of things that you would need for a job. And she has all the stuff on her at the moment because Pontiac has very recently completed a little bit of work in just north of the main kingdoms, actually. It is a bit of a frosty area. However, The weather at the moment has allowed some of the glaciers to melt, and she finds herself sitting in a cafe overlooking some of the lakes made out of the residue of these melted glaciers. At the moment, it is just her and her crew, but it's a little cafe of some sort. What does she... what's her poison? What does she like to drink?
Definitely, she likes coffee, black, but, where some would put milk, she believes in, a shot of whiskey to invigor the spirit.
Absolutely. And what about her little friends? What are their drinks of choice?
Also whiskey.
Pontiac is then having a cup of a black coffee with a shot of whiskey in it. They have a dog food bowl which has like a shot of whiskey in it, and most of them are enjoying it. Nostria has fallen asleep from consuming too much of the whiskey, but that's okay. They've worked very hard.
Yeah, bats do tend to be nocturnal. Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, it's in the middle of the afternoon as well, so she doesn't know really what's going on, so that's all fine. But it's a pretty isolated place that you are in, or at least you thought so. Apart from the person who owns the cafe and their husband, you weren't really expecting anybody else to appear up here, and yet, as you kind of have a look around and you see the glaciers and stuff like that, you do hear the sound of heavy footsteps behind you as two people have entered the situation.
Oh no, witnesses.
Potential.
We know what Captain Godot says about witnesses. Well, yeah, Pontiac's the observant sort, so she's gonna look over her shoulder, tip her hat up to peer at who's wandered into this here saloon of sorts.
Tell you what then, roll 2d6 and we'll have +1 for intuition.
Alrighty. I'm rolling. Ooh, that's 5 plus 3, 8. So 9.
9. Very nice. Pontiac has a look.
Math.
Very nice. Pontiac has a look over her shoulder then, and she gets a glimpse of these people. Here's what she immediately puts together. One of them is a human, and the other one is an elf. Both dressed in rather fancy garb, although underneath what looks like winter clothing. Potentially they may have travelled up here. They look like they don't look like locals, essentially. Another thing, though, that I will tell you, just because of the result that you got, is one of them has the Hemlock crest on their chest. They are likely people who work for the Trottelera Regency.
Interesting. I'm gonna, keep an eye on them for a little bit, see what they do. Do they sit down, do they, make an order? I'm gonna see what their intentions are here before making my move.
You see the two of them go up to the bar, talk to the person behind the bar, who then makes a finger motion over to you. And they both look in your direction. They don't look angry, though. They just are looking in your direction.
I, raise my mug, tip my hat to them, give them a little wink, little tip of the hat.
With that, the two of them eventually do make their way over to the table. Two of them one of them is holding 2 cups of tea, and the other one is holding what looks like a black coffee in their hand. They hold the black coffee out to you and say, Pontiac Lestrade, I assume.
That's what my ma called me.
They put the coffee in front of you and push it towards you.
I take a whiff of it. Does it smell alcoholic?
It smells like there is a shot of whiskey in it.
I'll slurp to that. And yeah, she just starts knocking it back.
The two of them pull chairs from other tables and sit on yours as they start to undo the scarves and their coats as they look at you and say, well, it's a bit early in the morning, isn't it, to be drinking?
It's my 5 o'clock, when you're waking up at the crack of night to get some business done. Subject to which I notice I'd recognize that insignia anywhere. What two boys from the... Wait, it's the Hemlock family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What two boys from the Hemlock family doing up in these reaches? Little cafe of this sort.
The elf kind of pulls on his nose a little bit to, almost kind of like as a little twitch, and he looks at you and he goes, "Looking for you, is what we're doing up here."
I didn't do it. You have no witnesses.
The human grins and goes, No, that's not why we're here. Nothing to do with your rap sheet. No, we're looking for your skill set, Pontiac."
Well, I'm all ears. Why didn't you say so?
All right. Yeah. The two of them are just kind of looking at you then because you say that, it's like, okay, yeah, she's looking for work and, okay, good opportunity to strike then. One of them starts to root for stuff and then kind of leans forward and goes, "This job's needs to happen relatively quickly. Obviously, we'll factor in travel time and stuff like that, but, tell me, how experienced are you with spelunking tombs?"
Yeah, and Pontiac just sort of grins. There's a devious glint in her eye. You could say I've had a little practice, I suppose.
Uh-huh. And, what about the chambers underneath Trottelera? Have you ever come across them before in your travels?
Have I ever?
They nod him down then, and the human produces some paperwork and pushes it in your direction, and he goes, "We're looking for something. What this something is a heirloom that belongs to the Hemlock family that we believe may be underneath Trottelera Castle, and we're looking to get it exhumed. Now, we know that you are a woman of particular tastes, and certainly a treasure like this may be something that you wouldn't mind having in your own collection, but what we're going to say is, whatever value you think that may have, we're going to match it."
And she sort of nods and thinks over, and she examines the papers, sees what, is there anything, I might gander or pick up on from these notes that they might not be telling me right off the bat? Like, could I infer something about what they're trying to do, or is there any information they're not being quite forthright with that I can ascertain?
Of course, roll 2d6 and I'll give you a +1 for intuition and just +1 for your backstory, because, yeah, you've done this before.
Ooh, that's a 10!
Oh boy, big 12. Alright. They do push paperwork towards you, and some of them are schematics of what they've managed to map out of the tombs underneath Trottelera Castle. First detail that you notice is these were all drawn up in right after the Winter Festival, which obviously, because news travels very slowly across the rest of the kingdoms, this was when Pratt coronated himself and then stopped his uncle from taking the castle hostage. And during this encounter, they discovered that there were tombs underneath said castle, which a ceremony was happening of a magical sort. But they haven't gone that deep into there. In fact, they're not quite sure how deep it does go. But they have been cross-referencing it with some bits of information that they have, which they believe that there is something in there which can help them with... Well, actually, it doesn't really say what they want it for, but here's what you can This is the result of the 10, this is what you can infer. They are looking for a magic wand.
Ooh, interesting.
Which is the thing that they're dancing around. They're essentially telling you that it's a... they're telling you that it has, royal value and they don't want it falling into the wrong hands and, national embarrassment. They're not really leaning into the fact that this does have magical potential.
I see.
So the human kind of leans in and he goes, "So, have we got a deal then, Pontiac?"
I reckon we do. And, Pontiac sort of spits in her hand and shakes his.
He does pull a bit of a face from spitting in hands, but he does shake your hand anyways. There's nothing else he can do about that. He goes, "Right, well, as far as I can see, we're going to be the quickest way back to Trottelera, so you might as well travel with us, Pontiac. Assuming you haven't got any last-minute things
a job
to do."
and a free ride? I'll gladly take you up on that offer, sir. And yeah, she sort of, stands up, finishes her coffee, and, tucks her little animal partners back away. Show me where to.
You just drop the sleeping bat in your pocket while the other ones actually do climb in, I suppose.
Yeah, they each have their little spot. Like, she tucks the bat on the inside coat pocket, the spider sort of her tarantula crawls up in her hat, the snake, sort of sort of wraps around the inside of her shirt,
Okay.
They each got a little home.
Little entry animation, I get you.
Yeah.
You then head out of this little coffee shop, and you do see a cart that leads to, well, not a particularly fancy cart, but one that does have a auto horse on it, so it should move a little bit quicker than traditional hooves. Almost out of a mock courtesy, one of the men does open the door for you to go in first.
Yeah, she almost said Felina. Pontiac hops on in, just immediately, spreads out, takes up quite a bit of space, probably, sort of lays sideways across the bench, tips her hat down to take a little snooze.
Alright. And the two kind of roll their eyes, shut the door behind them, as we pull the camera out, and we get beautiful vistas of mountaintops as we head back into the kingdom of Trottelera. If this was like a Bond film or something, I imagine this would be where the title sequence and stuff is. But,
yeah, definitely.
We don't have
some big music would be playing. We'd have the theme music here.
We would have the Pontiac Lestrade theme music, which describes how cool she is and all the stuff that she can do. One of the choruses will be dedicated to Nostria, Ariana, and Desnakera, obviously, but
definitely.
We haven't got those production values yet for Quest and Show. Speaking of which, people at home, if you would love this podcast to have those production values, please consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/hot cider.
Don't make Hot Cider resort to the very cool crime of grave robbery to keep the lights on.
Exactly. Because that's not for me, that's for Pontiac Lestrade, that's her job. And as we say that, it ends and we end up within the castle grounds of the Hemlock Castle, as in Trottelera Castle, as in Trottelera City. You haven't been... Well, actually, I suppose during the trip, did you want to try and squeeze any more information out of them?
Let me I suppose she's gonna, posit some speculation and questions about, the one. But she's not gonna push too hard. If they're trying to keep something secret, she's not gonna jeopardize this opportunity if it looks like they're getting upset.
Of course. Well, what I will say then is, I will make you roll on that, because that seems pretty, that seems pretty level, which all they really tell you is that they don't know how old these tombs are underneath Trottelera Castle, but from the stonework they can tell that it may be from the time before the actual christening of Trottelera about 1,000 years ago, during the war of the spider folk and the dwarves and the beastmen and stuff like that, before Uriel Hemlock came into power and established a castle there. So it could be possible that maybe this place was used for channeling magic back when that was still more readily available. It could have even been used as a armory of some sort, like a dugout. But They don't really know much more than that, and although they have attempted to find people who will go underneath Trottelera Castle, no one has really come forward with showing interest. Like, a lot of historians have kind of kept away from it. Like, they don't really want to disturb whatever is underneath there. Which may sound like a bad thing, but I think it's also an opportunity, because they're all wusses at the end of the day.
Sounds like a lot of cowards, you know?
Yeah,
just like those cowards who would make excuses about, respecting the dead because they didn't have the stones to dig up some cool tombs. Exactly,
yeah, you got it. Got it in one, absolutely. They do... Okay, so here's two things then that does make this a little bit easier. They do give you a map of how much they have figured out so far. And... Is there anything else you think you may need for going down into the tombs?
Well, if I'm getting a magic wand, that's something I might want some sort of, like gloves or tongs or, a magic-proof case to carry in. Something like that of the sort. Magic-proof container.
Okay, you don't intuit that to them, but they do say that, listen, this thing may be fragile, so we're going to give you something a bit heavy-duty for it. And they essentially give you what almost looks like a case that you would put a pool cue in, but a little bit more refined. And as you kind of have a look inside it, yeah, the thing looks like it's meant to stop magic, essentially.
Good to have.
So
should I put that in treasures?
Yeah, so add a map, incomplete to treasures, and magic proof case. Magic proof 1 case. Yeah. But they show you where the opening is to the tombs underneath Trottelera Castle, and essentially they tell you that if you need any help, then obviously... Well, actually, I guess that's the challenging thing, isn't it? Is that how are you going to get a message out of there?
Don't worry, I got help. And she sort of tips her hat, showing Ariana, and, pats her coat.
Yeah, she taps her hat, and just like the tarantula picks it up, hisses a bit, and then puts the hat back down.
Exactly.
Winks with 4 of its eyes.
Yeah.
Cool. So where this journey begins then is you head into the castle dungeons, which does have a guard on duty at the moment. And the thing is relatively empty, except there is one person in there who you can't quite tell what race they are from their shape, because they have a brown burlap bag over their head. And as you kind of
we've all been there.
Oh, yeah. And
there before the grace of the gods.
As you walk in, the sound of your feet hitting these stones, this perks this guy up and he goes, You're gonna have to get me out of here. I'm not meant to be here.
Yeah, Pontiac does just sort of tip her hat to this stranger in a burlap sack and say about what I just said. Oh, we've all been there, partner. My heart goes out to you.
You're gonna leave this person be, then?
So are the guards still around me, or am I just...
The 2 guards who escorted you, they're like outside the dungeon. They're like, they said, yeah, whatever, just you do your thing. There is one guard in here, though, who doesn't really seem to be paying much attention to this guy. He's just like rocking back and forth on a wooden chair.
Well, so that's how Pontiac opens, at least, with the guy saying, "Gotta get me out here," and just seeing him with a burlap sack. Pontiac does sort of walk up to him, tipping her hat, which she can't see, and yeah, again, we've all been there, partner. My heart do go out to you.
Oh, you don't understand. I'm not meant to be here. My name's Duncan Brewer, and they've arrested me for no reason.
As I said, we've all been there. Just trying to expand the minds of others and getting arrested for, trying to educate ourselves to the mysteries of the dead. What trouble you got yourself into there, partner?
Nothing, they just arrested me for no reason. Locked me up in here.
Now, you say no reason, but I find that's not often the case. Reasons can be petty, such as jealousy, or cowardice, or guards trying to get a pay raise. All these things are reasons, if not your fault per se. You gotta expand your thinking there, partner.
No, I'm a political prisoner. They've locked me up for no goddamn reason. They'll have me rotting here. You have to help me.
Now you've made yourself a lie. Because you just said no reason, and then you told me a reason, that you're a political prisoner. That's a reason right there. It's not a good reason, but it's a reason. See, now I'm thinking maybe you're in here for lying.
This guy just kind of looks at you a little bit awkwardly.
Through his burlap sack.
Through the burlap. Yeah, they've cut two little eyes out of the burlap sack. He looks at the guy who's on the chair, who's just looking at him and just smoking. He don't care. Like, he's just letting him do his little performance. And I think kind of at that, the guy with the burlap sack just starts heading back and he goes, I'm telling you, you're making a mistake. My name's Duncan Brewer and I shouldn't be in here.
Well, I shouldn't be in here either. I got some tombs I should be in.
Speaking of, as you say tombs, the guard's ears perk up a little bit and he goes, oh, you're the person who's coming here for splunking, huh?
That's one word for it, yes.
He takes the cigarette out of his mouth and uses it to point at the back of the room where you notice what looks like an enormous hole blasted through, leading to pitch black darkness.
Thank you, partner. I'm taking your gesture there to indicate that's the entry wince to where I should go. Word of advice to you. If you keep smoking like that, don't go into any caves with lit cigarettes. If I'd learned that lesson sooner, I'd still have my original eyebrows.
I want to imagine that when Pontiac wants to, like, look surprised, she wipes her eyebrows off and then draws, like, new ones on, but, like, shocked eyebrows. When she's angry, she draws on angry eyebrows.
She just has, like, two little, like, stickers, big sort of rectangular eyebrows that she can just sort of slap on,
like big black plasters. When Ariana rides around in her hat, she'll adjust the stickers to change her emotions.
True, that's why she's got all those legs. She's got silk web. She can puppet her eyebrows.
Yeah, like perfect. Awesome. There we go.
See, animal companions are so gosh darn useful. I keep on letting Pontiac's voice and accent and mannerisms slip into my speaking when I'm not in character as her. It's a real problem.
That's alright. Yeah, that's no problem. You're just getting into character. That's half the fun of Quest and Show.
I don't want to get too into character. What if I start robbing more graves in real life because of this?
That's a very good point. So
can't push my luck. There's a very limited amount of graves you can get away with robbing in a year, James.
Not that I would know. Just saying. Just for the people at home. If you have any questions about it, please leave a question in the comments below. Pontiac, you head into you head over to the opening and you pop your head through, and obviously you do have dark vision goggles on you. And what you see is a stone spiral staircase that descends lower and lower and lower into the earth.
Cool. So I'm gonna see if I can find myself a little rock or something like that. Something roundish that'll sort of roll.
Oh, sure. You do find some loose stones around your feet.
So I'm gonna toss this down the steps and see if it, even if it might not be heavy enough to set off a trap, if it does, that's great,
Sure.
If a step is booby-trapped, has a, tripwire spring or something, that'll sound different or, stop the stone, I can listen out for it and see if I can spot any trapped steps before I descend these stairs.
Good point. Roll 2d6 and we'll add +1 for exploration then.
Cool. Not intuition.
We'll add another one for we'll add another one for intuition then. Actually, I'll give you those two, but I'll take -1 off because obviously this is...
Yeah. I mean, I was just expecting intuition before. It's a bit of a gray area, you know. It is a... In any case, I got a 7, so didn't much matter either way.
You throw the stone then, and the thing starts to ping and bounce and roll. Good news is there's no immediate traps where you are. Bad news is, though, the stone hits one step particularly hard and causes it to crumble away.
Well, ain't that just the thing?
Mm-hmm. So, you have now created a bit of a gap that you're going to need to cross.
So did it crumble away? What did it, like, crumble into? Just sort of... Is there, like, a hole, or...
So the stone staircase is kind of suspended from holding from the wall, and there's no railing or anything to the side. If you accidentally...
I see.
So if you accidentally fell over to the side, you would just go tumbling down. So as a result, this step and a couple of other steps have sort of crumbled away, thus leaving just a big empty gap between them.
Well, I do believe it may be time to use some of that adventuring gear and animal companionship.
Oh boy, so what's your idea?
So, Pontiac's gonna take out... God damn, I keep on going to that accent. Pontiac takes out a grappling hook and, good length of sturdy rope, and is gonna, affix a grappling hook to the sturdiest, strongest point she can find to secure up top here at the, stairs.
Oh. Alright, and what are the animals helping her with?
So she's going to have Ariana stay with the top of the grappling hook so that when she's done, she can call out and, it can unhook the grappling hook and, bring it back to her. So she doesn't just have to leave her one grappling hook behind.
Very useful. Alright, roll 2d6 then, and we'll add +1 for pet animal and +1 for exploration gear.
Alrighty. Oh, it's a good thing we did that because I rolled a... Oh no, never mind. 3 and a 1 is a 4, so that makes 6.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Deary me.
You throw the rope out then to kind of, to get a hook on something. And you do feel a bit of a pull on it. And you command Ariana, alright, go up the rope and, do your thing, which she does. Mm-hmm. You pull on the rope again and you use that to get over the gap. Issue is that the pull of your weight on it has caused the rock to go free.
Oh dear.
Ariana is on top of the hook and kind of panicking a little bit and just starts to spray webbing in a mitt to try and mitigate this. Roll 2d6 plus pet animal.
Alrighty. Ooh, that is a 5 and a 3, so 8, 9.
9. Ariana then manages to hold this thing in place. However, you kind of lose the rope in the process. You kind of let go of it, land on the other side, and then as you go to pull the rope to pull it back, no, it's just completely stuck there.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable. And, just call up to her. Nice work there, champ.
She
Good
does a
saving.
She does a little salute with one of her arms and then climbs down the rope and onto your arm.
Yeah, nice.
Nice. As you start to descend down the staircase a little bit more, you do notice that as you get further down, there are a couple of different pathways leading into chambers. One of them looks like a large, almost kind of like cooking room because there's a big fire pit in the middle, which looks like it has scorch marks and kind of scratches from a fight that may have happened in there. But then you also get further down and you find empty chests, and you also find versions of the Hemlock crest, which don't quite look like the ones that were on the chests of the guys that came in to the cafe. In fact, the quadrants, one of them has a sword in it, and then with the other one where there should be a branch of peace is a magic wand. So, putting 2 and 2 together, you think that, obviously this is all linked up to the Hemlock family. This might be one of their heirlooms.
Question.
Yes.
Have I seen any more modern Hemlock insignias down here, or only these ones?
No.
Ones with the wand.
There is no touch of modern Hemlock down here. From what? Yeah, from what you can put together, it is only these older ones. And considering the fact that you have never seen... Well, actually, I don't know. I'll ask you this. How much do you know about old Trotlera?
Quite a bit, This is one of the kingdoms, that Pontiac has seen. And she's been interested in it, because, up to a certain point, and I guess you would know what point this would be, it gets very hard to find information on some of the older Hemlocks and where they may be buried. She can find tombs going back to a certain point to, she might have seen the bones of Prince or King Pratt's, grandfather or great-grandfather, but, after a number of greats, it's uncharacteristically obscured for a family of such standing.
That is very true. And one of the things that kind of got you interested in the Hemlock family recently is that a rival archaeologist called Roland Ward, who's a bit more of a goody two-shoes about, discovering information.
A bit more of a nerd.
A bit of a dork.
Exactly. Just the wettest geek.
Released a book saying about how the Hemlock family may not be actual... they shouldn't be on the throne, essentially. They had stolen it from its true rulers. And you kind of went, oh, well, maybe there's an opportunity for going through some tombs that maybe there may be maybe some information that I can dig up that I could maybe use for extortion. But you went to where Uriel Hemlock's gravesite was outside of Trotlera, and there was nothing really of value there. And then obviously you went to Gustav Hemlock's gravesite, and there was, apart from some of the riches that he was kind of buried with, nothing else of value there either. So, looking at these crests...
The riches that he was formerly buried with.
Yes, because those riches...
No longer.
Fortunately, no one in the Hemlock family regency has figured out that perhaps you were the person who took them, but that's okay. Don't need to worry
Perhaps.
about that. Perhaps.
Allegations have been made, but, none conclusively so.
Of course. But from the crest that you're looking at, you're pretty sure that is the crest of Uriel Hemlock, but pre-editing, as in pre-changing that quadrant from a magic wand to the...
Yeah, this is the original. This ain't the, they ain't put the fig leaves on the wieners yet.
Exactly. This is Prince Pratt, well, King Pratt, I suppose, at this point, ancestor.
I have a question.
Yes.
How long ago did Prince Pratt become King Pratt? How far are we in the timeline from that winter?
6 months.
6 months? Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know if months work the same way in Trotlera as they do in our world. You know what? They do. There we go. Loreheads.
Glad to hear it.
Add that to the
Are
books.
the dates the same? Do we got the same months of the year?
Yeah, but they all have different names, and certain... It's like Animal Crossing.
I see.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And certain
does Animal Crossing have different names?
Not for the months, but it does. But it doesn't have certain holidays and stuff like that. For example, Christmas doesn't exist in Trotlera because Jesus Christ didn't exist in Trotlera.
I always imagined Prince Pratt's birthday as being Christmas. I don't know why.
That was exactly that was absolutely
the
case. Well, I hope everybody's enjoying this director's commentary of Question Show happening in between.
Wait, was that said in the episode and I'm just forgetting? Am I just editing something from the show to have been my idea instead? Or is this meta-knowledge I had?
Yeah, when the hostage situation happened, that was Prince Pratt's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
But I mean that was the Hemlock version of Christmas.
That was the case.
Okay, yeah. I thought so. Cool.
I thought so too. But here's the thing. Eventually you start running out of Hemlock stuff as you head further down, and things start to get a little bit weirder, for lack of a better term. And going along with this weirdness, as you kind of reach the bottom of this well, you look up and the light of the dungeon that you came from barely there anymore. That is just, even with your dark vision goggles, that's completely gone. From here, it is all tunnels. And being a bit of an expert on old-fashioned tombs, these look like they are rigged with traps.
Well, what fun would it be without them? Otherwise, might as well just go spelunking.
Exactly.
So I have a question. I want to use some of my intuition here.
Sure.
So, do these tunnels, can I ascertain, look at sort of the age of these, how long ago these were carved, means they were carved and such, versus, like, the ruins that, the catacombs I've been going through, and is one seem older or more recent than the other, or do they seem to have been made at the same time? Or were the tunnels more recent, or are the tunnels older?
Roll 2d6 and I'll give you +1 for intuition and +1 for backstory.
Gotcha. Ooh, didn't even need it. That's a 5 and a 6.
Oh boy, big 11.
13.
Alright, I'll say what you want.
Lucky number 13.
I'll tell you what you want to know then, which is, how does it work? At the top, where you started, you could say that the stonework was about 1,000 years old, so generations before Pratt Hemlock. This was the time of Uriel Hemlock. As you've gone further down, they have gotten older, to the point now that you are standing in stone ways that could be 5,000 years old.
Oh, now that's just exciting.
Yeah, you've read about stuff like this, but you've never seen it in the flesh.
And this includes the just regular stone tunnels. These are linearly older than what's above them. Oh,
yeah. Like, from the shape of the stonework, this is pre-certain races in Trottle era.
Ooh,
like,
exciting.
This is real old stuff. And what I will say is, because there are traps in here, I'll give you, because you have done this intuition, I'll give you a bonus for getting through them.
Oh, that's nice. Knowing the traps of the era, what was in style at the time.
Yeah, of course.
Plus, like, drawstrings do tend to rot and decay after, their third millennia of existence. Perhaps, traps might be a bit slower. Archaeologists were a bit slower back then, people didn't have 5,000 years of practice to get to the pinnacle of grave archaeology that Pontiac Lestrade represents.
Exactly. So, how would you like to approach this?
Actually, I do have one last question. I was originally going to ask to roll for this, but I think it's less relevant now and is more just curiosity.
Sure.
Do these tunnels seem more, there were caves that were purposed for this, or like were these carved tunnel blast? Like what was the manner of construction for these that I can see? Like how built were these? How much, how expensively built are these? Are these, hastily carved out, like basically, or are these basically mine shafts, or were these still once considered beautiful, impressive structures? What's the nature of these tunnels?
I can give you an answer, or I'll let you roll to try and get a better answer.
I will try and roll and get a better answer.
Okay, it'll have to be above a 9 to get the best answer.
Gotcha.
And I will give you a +1 for intuition as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, it is far from above a 9. It is in fact a 3 and a 1. So
Okay. Oh, I won't be harsh and say you don't get any information, but what I will say is it looks like it was carved from maybe catacombs that were already down here, but then some of them does look blasted through and made, like they were made down here.
Yeah. And so, Pontiac's, she's taking her time on this, really like spending time to examine and compare the stonework on each sort of level as she goes down, like sort of tapping on the rocks, scratching at it, giving it a lick to, like, see its composition and whatnot. What rocks like native to here when they use a different material, etc. But yeah, so she's confidently ascertained that she's established, fully what she's getting into, and is gonna start diving into these tunnels, carefully, cautiously, searching for traps. This is also when I imagine animal companions come into play,
Right.
We got a bat. A bat can fly. It's small. It's not going to set off any tripwires or pressure plates. And it's got handy-dandy echolocation.
That is very true. So I guess in that case, I'll give you 2d6, and I'll give you a +1 for exploration, +1 for pet animals, and I would give you +1 for intuition, but we'll cancel that out just because this is new ground.
Yeah. Alrighty. Oh dear.
What did you get?
Well, I'm gonna guess this is a failure. I don't think any amount of +1s would have stopped 2 1s from
Oh, you got snake eyes, did you?
I did indeed. I should have used my snake eyes and had to Snaker explore instead of Nostria. It's looking like, because she did not do the best.
You tell Nostria then, right, go echolocate, see how far down this thing goes. And
it was sonar activated traps we fell into their ploy.
So the little bat goes down there and starts to squeak, and you start to kind of feel around for obvious pressure plates and stuff like that. This whole room is covered in moss, is the problem. And
oh dear.
As you kind of step forward and you're like, okay, what is an obvious trap here? I would say that you do the smart thing and you throw another rock to see if you can activate something. And in doing so, it causes concentrated laser light to come out of the walls and burn the rock.
Oh dear.
And as you hear the little bat squeaking, it seems to cause the tunnel to almost... You almost kind of hear like a low drone charge up.
Okay, yeah, just gonna call out. Sweetie, I'd stop that. Some things going real bad real quick.
Squeak. Roll 2d6 plus pet animal.
Okay. Okay, that's 7, so 8.
Okay, I will say that Nostria does manage to get out of there unscathed, but through her activation and even your bit of activation, the whole tunnel is starting to kind of light up. I will say this much. They didn't have technology like this 5,000 years ago, you're pretty sure. Because there are, like, lines of light that are showing up on the walls that are almost kind of following the etching of what should be dwarven stonework, but that doesn't look dwarven from what you can figure out.
Wait, so to clarify, are these sort of light... are these just, like, tracing along the walls? Or
yes.
is there, like, actual laser... Okay, so... Okay, I was initially picturing, like, laser beams, like, crossing the room, like Mission Impossible or something.
You do see some laser beams shoot back and forth, though, but nowhere near you yet.
Okay. So, do I see... Can I see if these lights are lighting up all the way into the tomb, or is it just this room so far?
They're doing it all the way down this tunnel.
How big is this tunnel?
Probably, Hold on, let me get out my ruler and figure out distances. About maybe 100 foot.
Okay. I'm gonna gun it then. Gonna try and, this is still old, if not maybe as old as everything else. But
sure.
I don't have time to quite stand around and ascertain it first. Pontiac, hopefully it's old enough and it clearly has a wind-up. Pontiac's gonna sprint and try and, take a dive to the end of the tunnel to just, get out of here before anything goes too haywire.
2d6.
Alright. This is where I should have taken those athletics. Ooh, 5 and a 4. You did say now that I get a +1 for dealing with traps because of that.
Actually, you know what? I did say that, so yes, I'll give you a 10 on that. So that's all good there. In cool action movie style, you dive through one set of lasers, you slide through another pair, you limbo over another pair of lasers, cartwheeling
at one point
through
she has to dive down and her hat sort of flies up from momentum and the laser goes between her head and her hat, and Ariana has to web the hat to snap it back down.
Yeah, like Spider-Man's the hat back onto her head. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And you do, I will say, you manage to, you almost kind of land like a gymnast and like splay your hands out as you manage to get to the end of this tunnel with, well, your eyebrows still intact in this case, which is all pretty good. But that is very weird. And even weirder still is that as you look into the room at the end of the corridor, it is a large, almost kind of octagonal arena, which have these lights on the wall. And even weirder than that, you see figures walking around it in almost a pattern.
So, are there there are figures in the room walking around, or on the wall I see figures, sort of like 2D figures?
3D figures walking around on the floor.
Okay, gotcha. So I'm first of all going to try and use my stealth, It's still dark in here, this is why we don't... Granted, the lights did all just activate, so, with the lasers in the hallway, so I don't know quite... Or did they just immediately notice me? I guess I should have clarified that before I start talking about stealth.
These figures have not noticed you. You're not in the room yet.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna try and use stealth to, take cover, at a vantage point to observe these figures walking about.
2d6 plus stealth.
I'm not rolling too hot this session.
Oh boy, what did you get?
Well, it's not quite 2 1s, 2 2s in fact.
Oh, so only a 5. Oh, that's a bit rubbish.
I seem to remember, I feel like there were games where when you rolled doubles, you got to roll again. This ain't one of those games, is it?
Not unfortunately. Maybe we'll add that to season 3, but that's not on season 2 quite yet, unfortunately. What I will say is this, then, Pontiac. You do very smooth sneaking into the room as well as you can. Like, you're trying to follow the pattern of these things. And here's the first thing that you immediately notice. These kind of had a humanoid shape to them, but they could have been absolutely anything. Mm-hmm. But as you get in, you notice that they are automatons.
Oh, well, that ain't good.
But I'll tell you what's even weirder is that automatons are a relatively new thing in the kingdom. Like, magic has been able to bring them to life and stuff, but they're made from relatively modern material. Not these things, these are stone golems of some sort that have been roughly made into humanoid shapes. Like, where there should be a head is like a tiny stone spire with a little glass lens in it, but their bodies are almost like orcs' bodies, but with arms that hang all the way to the floor like a gorilla.
Ooh.
And as they walk, it's almost kind of like a chump, chump, chump turn. And then, they repeat that in sequence. And you're trying your best to kind of follow the sequence of these things and sneak past them. But this room is very rough. The stonework in here is completely collapsed through. And as you try and get through, your foot does hit a loose rock. Now, roll 2d6.
Okay. A 5 again. That seems to be a popular number.
I will give you an option.
Okay.
Do you want to take harm or do you want to face the consequences of what happens by making a lot of noise?
I'd like to face the consequences.
Okay. I will say this then. You are going to take a tiny bit of harm, but only your head hits the floor pretty quickly and you're a bit dizzy, so we'll just take 1 harm, but you're fine. Okay. You're not going to take any -1s to rolls. But doing so does jostle your hat, and I imagine you probably let out a son of a bitch or something like that.
Something of the sort.
As you hit the floor. Doing so
something
causes...
probably quite a bit more profane, but, I won't, do that to your podcast.
Asterixes, skulls, at symbols and stuff come out of your mouth, and doing so causes these stone figures to stop their sequence, rotate on the spot, and all look at you. There are, because this room is octagonal, there are 8 in this room. All surrounding you.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure what this would be a role, but, I'm wondering if I have seen anything like these stone golem automatons before in, my archaeological digs. I don't know if that's something I'd have to roll for to, have any, to have ever had experience with anything like this, or if you're just definitely not, or...
You know what? Roll 2d6 plus history, and if you get a really good roll, then yeah, I'll give you some...
Gotcha. Ooh, that is not a really good roll. That's a 5 and a 3, so 8 and 9. I feel like that's another one I've gotten a lot this game.
That's not too bad, though. What I will say is, you've never seen one in the flesh, but you have read plenty about them. More so, not so much as a thing that actually exists, but something that could have hypothetically existed many years ago, because there was a lot of strange... square and almost kind of built to mathematical perfection structures that were all over this island that have through history just been completely unexplained. Some people said that maybe it was aliens or something like that, but some believe that perhaps there was an ancient race far older than this one who had mastered tools so advanced that they were almost like human beings, and they were the people who built these structures. You believe that perhaps these are what these figures are. And putting elements together in your head of how they could potentially work, there's two main things that you think, which is they have to be receiving power from somewhere in order to animate them. And they can only follow very simple instructions, which means that they will move, but they will move with a deliberate way, and they'll almost be kind of you will have time to react to them, essentially.
Gotcha.
And they aren't human. They're not spontaneous creatures, these things.
They're much more our real world robots, They're very,
they're
slow, predictable, very stiff, predictable, predetermined movements and such.
It's like when you do basic and you type 10, print butts, 20, go to 10, and then it prints nothing but butts all the way down. They're like that, but obviously a bit more terrifying looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these things have all, clearly observed me, turn to,
In your direction, yes.
Yeah. And realizing that there's no playing this off as not here, Pontiac just sort of... Well, ain't you buckaroos an interesting sight? And gonna see, what these things are doing. Does some light start glowing on them, charging up some unknown laser? Do they start, marching at me? What is their reaction upon seeing me and processing that?
Roll 2d6 plus intuition.
Alright. It has been a stream of failures for poor Pontiac.
What did he get this time?
Another pair of Snaker eyes, I'm afraid.
Oh, voice. It's Snake's eyes back again. You're just hey, Buckaroo, what are you out to? And you're just kind of turning around to keep an eye on all of them. But what they're doing is, step, stand, step, stand. Up until the point that they get within your range, and those enormous gorilla arms move out and push back, and now they start swinging wildly in your direction. Roll 2d6.
Okay. Ooh, that's a 9.
Okay, what I will say is this then. You do manage to dodge out of the way of one of their big swinging arms, because as I said, they are heavy and they are deliberate, but they are slow in their movements. But they are essentially, they're like the Terminator. They're just moving constantly after you. I will give you some information, though. There is obviously the tunnel that you came from, but there is also a room beyond here, but you're not quite sure what's in it. But these fellas are going to be... They got you in pursuit, essentially.
So... I have an idea, and sure. These fellas moving around. So these are very simple creatures. They have instructions to move at me and attack with their swinging. These got big, heavy arms.
Yes.
Pontiac is gonna essentially try and, she sort of rolls out of the way, and she's gonna try and, kite them so that they group up, and, she's gonna try and essentially bait them into, bumping into each other with their arms swinging wildly and violently to smash each other. She's gonna attempt to...
Great idea. 2d6, and I'll give you a +1 for intuition, and I'll give you another +1, because, great plan.
Awesome. I'm using the information I had in my head to apply to this roll. Ooh, and I needed it too. That is a 5 and a 1, so a 6. So we get up to an 8.
Okay. Yeah, you are, putting yourself in danger to essentially dance around these things and have them smash into one another. Here's what... so here's what happens as a result of that, though, which is... Yeah, you do manage to get them to, fight against one another, and essentially those hits are so heavy that they are damaging each other as a result. And it seems that the moment that the head with the lens is destroyed, they just completely go dead. But in all this kind of dancing around and trying to kite them, you are unfortunately squeezed between two of them. Roll 2d6 to see if you take... What kind of damage this causes?
7.
You are winded from this. You are properly squeezed, and you may even feel a bit of a broken rib as a result.
Okay, yeah.
You do take 1 harm, and as a result, any physical activity will now take a -1 from here on out.
That's unfortunate.
Fortunate.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, but fortunately, though, these guys have now wiped each other out.
So, one thing I'm going to see, any of the, it's the head with the lens that seems to contain. Gonna see if I was lucky enough that any one of them might have knocked that head clean off another one, so the head was just separated from the body, but the head's still intact. I want to see if I can find that anywhere.
You know what? That's a great idea. So, yeah, you absolutely do. One of them... basically knocks one of its heads so hard that it was like a rock'em sock'em robot, and it just flew clean off and basically landed like a cola can on the other side of the room.
Nice. So yeah, I'm gonna, wincing sort of hand on my chest, breathing a bit hard, jog over there and inspect this head that still seems active but doesn't have a body to move, and see what I can, just inspect it for a while, see if I can figure out how this thing works and such. Take lots of notes.
I'll give you 2d6. I'll give you 2d6 and I'll give you +1 for intuition and another +1 because, you have... you're not in immediate danger.
Ooh, and once again, it was needed. A 4 and a 2 for a 6.
So that got you up to an 8. Very good. You have a look then inside this thing's lens. Oh, okay, so here's what happens. Even though it did manage to knock this head clean off, it doesn't have a neck or any kind of cavity by there. It's almost like a solid piece of polished stone all the way around and on each end. So in doing so, you have to have a look inside the lens and figure out how does this thing work. And inside, what you see are almost kind of little pieces of rune stone, which is really old-fashioned magic. Essentially, before it became more refined and more clever through potion use and stuff like that, people would literally just use these stones that had retained magical energy in it to essentially very simple programming. You could get these things to get you to do what they want. If you gave it a basic instruction, it would follow them. But this is a bit more sophisticated in that, because as you kind of look inside the lens, you also see other little bits of, there's, little veins of silver, there's, little bits of paper parchment and stuff like that. This is really clever stuff, and more clever than anything that you've seen in the rest of, the other kingdoms, which have, their most sophisticated piece of technology are autohorses, which is just, a block engine that can move carts about and stuff like that, but that works purely on combustion. This is... You wouldn't even know what to describe this kind of thing as.
Yeah. And cool. So definitely, copying down these, runes and inscriptions and whatnot in her notes. How big and heavy is this head?
It's about as big as if you stack 2 paint cans on top of one another, and it feels about as heavy as that.
Okay, so not something I could just tuck in my back pocket, sort of.
No, if you were gonna...
something you could just backpack.
No, if you were going to bring it with you, you would probably have to carry it like a baby.
Gotcha. Probably not. Can I see if I can take the lens off and take that specifically?
Sure. Roll... No, actually, I'll just let you have this. And, okay. Yeah, you kind of use your exploration gear to find a cutting knife, and you manage to kind of, like, slip it underneath this rock, and you pull the lens out of the thing, and you hold it to the light. Very interesting thing. As you kind of shift and rotate this lens about, it goes from pitch black to clear to pitch black to clear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so, Pontiac, does sort of pocket that with the research on the thing, and, like, with all the notes on these things, how they work, sketches of the head, and, what their figures look like, their behavior, and, includes the actual lens to...
Yeah.
Both as evidence and just for further study.
Of course. Now, you have the tunnel behind you, and you have a room in front of you.
Oh, one thing I wanted to examine, too, is looking at the tunnel I came from real quick. I also going to take a while to examine these lights and lasers and whatnot that were lighting up and glowing up. Because it seems not what I'd expect, and having studied this golem especially, I want to see if there's anything similar, and if it seems like it was added later.
I will say all of that. You have a look at these, what look like emitters then, against the walls, but you kind of have to be a bit careful about this because they are still active. They work on exactly the same technology. The lens that you pulled out of that golem are the lenses that are used in this thing, and it seems that on the opposite side of it is more unrefined runestone, but this is purely being programmed to, like, glow and emit, like, intense light, which is then focused into what looks like a long beam of light that burns.
Gotcha.
But you can tell that these are as old as the golems.
Excellent. And the golems did seem, as far as I could tell, they did seem as old as, these caves and whatnot.
These all seem like they were put here 5,000 years ago.
Alrighty, Rooney. Let's head on deeper in.
And as you head on deeper in, there are more stone staircases, but one to the left and one to the right, but they all meet up at the bottom where you see a golem of incredible size and girth, but it is not active. The lights on the wall don't seem to have stopped in the room that you were in, and it mostly just seems to be like the emissive light from the room that you were in coming in that lights it up. This golem is crouching down and has 2 open palms in front of it. And in those open palms is that magic wand that you've been asked to look for.
Ooh, interesting. So, looking around, you said there are runes on the walls here too, right?
There was... it was more so the light and the runes that were in the room before you are illuminating this room. You can't immediately tell in this room. The walls are dark.
Okay. Even with the goggles?
Oh, actually, when we applied the goggles, no, the runes and stuff are identical to the previous tunnel and the room that you were in.
I see.
They are all part of a single construct.
It is a shame I lost my grappling hook and rope.
That is true.
So, I am going to try, carefully go down to the side of this golem. I'm not going to try and snatch the things out of its hands. At least not just yet. And I'm going to try, get some spikes out, and I'm going to try and climb this thing up to its head.
Oh, that's cool. Alright. 2d6 plus stealth, and I'll give you another +1 for exploration gear.
Gotcha. 5 and a 1, so 6, bringing it to 8. That's been a bit of a trend.
8s, 9s, and 5s. That's all we're getting in sessions so far. That's okay. That's no problems. You managed to stealth all the way down the staircase, no questions asked. Nothing seems to activate in this room, and if it did, you did not hit it. As you get down, the way that this thing's hands are splayed out is like you would need to climb. Like, its hands are enormous. Like, you could stand on either of them, but you would need to kind of climb up to get to it, which is obviously what you're using the spikes to do. Mm-hmm. You try and dig it into its body, but this stone, whatever they use to build this thing, is tough. Even after 5,000 years of potential wear and tear, it is solid. So you will be able to use them to try and get up, but you're going to have to put a little bit of extra exertion into this to get where you need to. And also, so you're climbing it to get to the wand, and was there anything else you wanted to climb it for?
I wanted to climb up to its head, if I could, with its lens.
You wanted to have a look in its head, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you... Roll 2d6 and I'll give you but we'll take -1 off it because this is physical.
Can I use Ariana to help with this? You know,
sure.
She can climb on things and she can put silk to help help affix me to the side of the thing.
Absolutely. Okay, well, Castle does both out, so just a flat 2d6.
Ooh, 6 and a 2, a natural 8.
Oh boy. Okay, you look at Ariana and it's just like, look, I'm pretty beat. Well, help us out. And so Ariana is like, all right, I got an idea. And she kind of like webs your hands, almost like kind of sticky mittens, which gives you the adhesive that you need to pull yourself up. As you pull yourself up to this thing's head, its head looks more like a human being's head, as in there are two rather than being a single lens, there are two big lenses. It also looks like it has kind of like an articulated mouth on it as well.
Interesting.
From what you can tell looking at it, and I'll give you this extra detail as well, what you can tell looking at it, it doesn't look dwarven. Like, they were probably the most technically sophisticated of the races, but like, they used to make stuff look like them, so it would always have like quite strong features. No, this looks This looks like if you blended all the races together into something that was, like, completely bland. It would be this.
Interesting. So Pontiac does spend a bit of time, sketching it and looking into the lenses. First of all, so it has 2 lenses, one for each eye instead of one big one. So are these individual eye lenses, are they the size of the lens I have? That was it. So are all these lenses the same size, or are these still bigger?
These are these are bigger. Like, this head is comically small for the body that it has and the hands that it has, but they are still much larger than the lens that you took off the robot.
Gotcha. So looking at the runes, I spent time to copy down, the arrangement of the runes and the patterns and everything. Is it the same arrangement of runes in each eye, or is it different?
No, they're very different, and I think even through intuition, like, as much as you can see in this thing's head, you kind of see the fact that no, like, what's in its head is like maybe the tip of the iceberg for how this thing really works.
Gotcha. So, I copy that down, but, very much make these observations. There is a lot more here to this. So, I'm gonna try and, investigate this head a bit more. Gonna try and pop out these lenses, they're a bit bigger. Gonna try and use silk to stop these things from just, tumbling out or shattering or collapsing, try and, not damage them too much, but, still crowbar them out of there.
Sure. 2d6 and I'll give you +1, just from all the things that are eliminated and the things that are added.
Alright, 3 and 3. That takes us to a 7. Very necessary.
Takes you to a 7.
That's the first time the plus has actually, made a difference, I think. I could be wrong, but I think that's the first time it's actually factored in. No, because I've had lots of 6s bumped to 8s, but, it hit me exactly on a 7.
And early on, you did also have some stuff that took you up to a 10, so not too bad.
That's true.
You pull your knife out, and you manage to remove the lens from one of its eyes. And then as you move over to the other side and you slip your knife in, it activates the thing.
Uh-oh.
And the way that it activates is that those lights that were on the wall of the tunnel seem to glow across its body. It stands up straight, and the one that is in between its hand, it clasps between its fingers.
Ooh, interesting. I'm gonna see what happens if I, break some of the runes, just
Oh, in its eye?
Yeah, just scratch through some of the runes and see if that has a noticeable effect on it.
What are you going to use to try and break the runes?
I had, knife spikes,
Oh, yeah, I guess,
here.
yeah, I guess...
It's difficult, but that should be enough to, scratch enough to mess up some characters.
Roll a flat 2d6.
Oh, thank God. 6 and a 4.
Oh boy, that's a big 10. And basically you just want this thing to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you push your, almost kind of in shock, you just jam your knife in the eye hole where its lens was taken out. And in doing so, it immediately stops, animating.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I will say if you want to get the other...
without a big knife.
If you want to get the other lens, there's not going to be any trouble in doing so, but his hands are still clasped around the wand.
Yeah. Might as well take the other lens off just as a precaution before. Also, not entirely convinced it won't start shooting laser beams out its eyes if I don't take the lenses out, but, just as a precaution. Next thing I'm gonna try and do, the mouth seemed articulated. Adventuring or exploration gear, I imagine that would include some sort of, need to lift heavy doors and objects and, or prop things open, some sort of jack, like a car jack, something like that. Gonna see if I... Yeah. Gonna see if I can't slip something in there to try and, force this mouth open.
I'll say, I'm gonna say there's no downside to this because you have deactivated the thing, so yeah. You pop open its, you try and, jimmy your, this long bar of metal, between its jaw. And you do find that there are, gears and stuff in there. And you kind of, almost like a safe cracker, you find the right one, and its mouth does open. You kind of wiggle your finger inside of it. It is like a fake mouth, essentially. The thing was built to look like a mouth. And as you kind of fiddle around with the gears, maybe as some kind of prop, this thing was maybe meant to emulate speaking, potentially?
Huh. So does it have, somehow a stone-articulated tongue?
No, it's got they have carved a tongue in there, but it's not a real tongue.
Gotcha. Interesting. Does it seem to, have a throat that goes somewhere, or is it more just...
No, it is a carved, like a facsimile of a throat in there.
Gotcha. Okay. Do I see any runes in here?
In its mouth, no.
Alright, one last thing I want to check too. So, the rune I damaged on the eye, I look around and does that, or in general, do the runes I'm seeing on it tend to correlate with, runes I'm seeing on the walls?
Yes. So the way that the walls work, the way that the lasers work, the way that the robots work in this thing, all use exactly the same stone technology. They have these almost kind of little red rubies inside of them, which are etched with runic symbols.
Interesting. So the walls lit up and then this thing moved, right?
Yes.
And these need to be controlled somewhere, so I imagine it has something to do with... My Pontiac's deductive reasoning suggests that the walls, lights activating are what, causes it to, that's what's controlling it. The wall runes is my current working hypothesis.
Okay.
And when certain runes on the walls lit up... So, wait, was it all the runes, or just some of the runes lit up initially?
No, all the lights in this room are activated before the robot activated.
Okay, I see. So I am going to essentially try and slowly... Well, I'm gonna climb down, let myself slowly down, leave myself, a bit of, with Ariana, just sort of stick some, little minor things to the side to give me, footholds to climb back up more easily, if
sure.
I can do that. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go to one of the runes on the walls and see if scratching into that does something to the giant. See if I can get it to respond or react in some way there.
Okay. You use your metal spikes to kind of climb onto the wall then, and you go up to the runes and you scratch through it. All it seems to do, much like kind of scratching the gold paint of a PCB, is that the lights in the room which were along that rune have just turned off.
Okay. Not ideal. Not
quite right. No.
And I was scratching that, so I don't think I can just draw that rune back in, can I?
Not quite, no. Not with the materials that you have.
Difficult. So, well, that's a bit of a pickle, and both its hands are closed, right?
Yeah, but they're quite large hands. And I'll tell you what, roll 2d6 and I'll give you +1 for intuition.
2d6 +1 for intuition. 4 and a 3. 8.
4. Oh, there's an 8. Oh, well, a 4 and a 3 is a 7.
Yeah.
Oh, plus 1 is... Oh, no, but then it's an 8 for intuition. Oh, yeah, no. Fair enough. You have a look, and its hands are clasped together, but because of the way that the stone is built, there is a little gap almost about as big as the wand. You couldn't fit your hands in there.
But Snaker can finally do something.
Yes, that's what you managed to intuit from that.
I have a slippery little snake to sneak into a little hole, and...
Roll 2d6 plus pet animal, then.
Yeah, alright. And just alright, it's your time to shine, and, slithers out the little, sleeve wrapped in my shirt to try and sneak in there. Ooh,
right.
That is a 5 and a 2, so 7 and 8 for Animal Companion.
You tell the snake then, alright, push it through. And, he lauds at you, and, he slips out your hand and into this crevice. You go to stand at the other side, and you see this wand slowly start to push out.
Take the, magic-proof pool cue case and just let it, slide straight in there, line it up.
Okay. And you do so. So this wand, falls out from between its hands and into the pool cue, and Snake follows behind it. The moment that it hits that case, the moment that it falls out of the thing's hand, all of the lights in this room are out.
Huh. Does anything happen with the golem?
No, the golem is still completely solid. Actually, no, I'll tell you what. The golem's hands open up after you get the one from out of it.
And then just sort of looking, grinning at Snaker. Good thing that hands didn't close up instead of open up, huh? As I'm sure it, sort of hisses back at me in annoyance.
It rolls its tiny snake eyes and then goes back up your arm.
Cool. So, you said there were little rubies in these rooms, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna see if I can... So, got the wand. Was there anything in its other hand?
No, so the hands were kind of put together almost in a begging motion with its thumbs splayed out, and the wand was laid across them.
I see. So some of these runes, I'm gonna try and, just... Alright, got some time with a chisel. Just try and chisel out, a slab of runes to take with me. Maybe a couple.
Okay. Roll 2d6 plus exploration gear.
2d6 plus exploration... Snake eyes.
Oh boy, oh boy. You cut into this wall then to try and pull these runic symbols out. First issue is that, much like that robot's head, these things are very heavy. And as you were cutting around certain runes and certain edges, something very odd has begun to happen, which is you were trying to jimmy them out with the metal bar that you have and with your own fingers. And then it almost feels like some kind of ghostly presence is now pushing them towards you. And not just that rune, but other parts of this room, as it seems like this place is about to cave in.
Oh, that's not good. Well,
no, not great.
This is about the worst outcome. And yeah, just Pontiacs are looking up. Fellas, I think it's just about time we made our egress. And she is going to egress with haste.
Alright, it's egressing time. You are harmed, so you will get a -1 to egressing. Do you think there's anything that you could potentially use to even this out, though? Because you got your animals, you have got your exploration gear.
I'm going to say intuition, potentially exploration too, in that, I know how ruins work. I've been in lots of ruins. I've seen ruins collapse, and I know what a wall looks like when it's about to fall down, or a ceiling tile looks like when it's about to fall. I know I can sort of see what areas are gonna stand up for a little longer, what areas are imminently about to collapse, and find the most effective route.
Okay, we'll give you a +1 for intuition, and then so it'll just be a flat 2d6 on this.
All right. Oh no, it is a 4 and a 1.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no.
That's 5.
This has been a rough time for poor Pontiac.
Good news is that because the wand is no longer in that thing's hand, even the laser lights have stopped working in that tunnel. Bad news is it doesn't really matter because that tunnel is coming apart piece by piece in front of you. In fact, because of that bad roll, the way that you came is locked. Well, not locked, but it's completely destroyed by stonework. Roll 2d6 flat.
Okay. 6 and a 3.
Oh, that is a 9. Okay. Fortunately, and I'll tell you what, we'll add an intuition to this, so we'll get it up to a 10.
Ooh, nice.
You have a look over your shoulder, and you do see that through these walls collapsing and other stuff, new pathways are starting to open up around you. You can't quite figure out, okay, but where you don't even really have time to question, but where do they lead? You just kind of need to, get going, essentially.
Well, I am going to, start heading into these new pathways. I have animal companions. I have a bat with echolocation who can help, guide me of hey, don't turn there, that's a dead end. This leads somewhere.
That's cool. Alright, 2d6 and we'll have +1 for a pet animal.
Cool. Would this also be exploration? Since it's
I'll give you a
exploring areas as they... Oh, fair. No, true.
And a -1 for health, so +1 for bat.
Yeah. Oh, no. 5. 4 and a 1 again.
Oh,
Once
no.
again.
Oh, no.
Pontiac's favorite roll.
I will say this much. Yeah, the bat does start squeaking and is managing to lead you in all the right places as you are trying to escape through this collapsing tunnel, and you are starting to elevate. There is almost different pathways past this stone staircase underneath Trottelera Castle, but down one of the paths she has taken you to an enormous chasm.
Uh-oh.
She is flapping on the other side of the chasm looking at you I'm too small. I can't help you. You're gonna need to jump.
Looks like we're gonna have to jump. So,
is there anything you want to try and factor into the jump as your call?
Well, I have adventuring gear, but I also left my, grappling hook behind.
That's true.
And I'm trying to think what other exploration gear I could have that would... I feel like saying I have a springboard, would be a bit of a...
If you had gymnastic gear, that would make a bit more sense. But exploration gear, a bit much.
Trying to think what things I would have in exploration gear that would help. Ooh, I have something. Wait, give me a second to think this out.
Okay.
You can edit this so it seems like I'm smarter, but I'm like piecing together, the mental math is going off in Pontiac's head.
Okay. Walk us through it. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, I kind of have two separate ideas. But,
okay.
So exploration gear, you need, there's a lot of, tarps and things like that. You gotta, sort of cover up things. You need lots of cloths and fabrics, with a dig. Protect things from the elements and water and rain and stuff like that. Want to try and do a makeshift parachute to sort of, glide and get more distance on a jump.
Okay. What's the second idea?
Second idea was doing some, sometimes you need to do a bit of blasting. I could see having a set of, an explosive or something. The
funny thing is that that's exactly what my thought was you just use the blast of an explosion to propel yourself over the chasm.
Yeah, those were my two thoughts. I get, you know what? Those work together too. I feel like an explosion plus a parachute. That's very action movie, Indiana Jones, Lara Croft.
That would give you the propulsion needed to glide through the air. Okay. 2d6 plus 1 for exploration gear, and I'll give you another plus 1 because of this out-of-the-box thinking.
Okay, yeah. That out-of-the-box thinking's just a fun way of saying intuition, Alright, let's not roll another fucking 5. Well, I didn't roll a 5.
But
I did roll another one of Pontiac's favorite rolls.
Oh boy, what did you get?
Those good old Snaker eyes.
Oh, you got snake eyes. Oh boy. Well,
I think this is the most anyone's rolled snake eyes in Quest and Show.
I think so, yeah. I think that is I think you might be right on that. And what I will say is this. You throw the dynamite behind you in order to create the propulsion. You flap out this thing. And, you kind of prepare... You take, a running jump to prepare yourself and let it propel you. The explosion is so intense that not only does it destroy the stonework... Well, destroy the stones behind you, but it also causes where you were meant to be jumping to also collapse.
Oh, no.
You are floating quite serenely through the air, and... there is something below... you're pretty sure there must be ground below you that you can slowly descend to.
Yeah, logic dictates that eventually, all holes have a bottom.
Yes, very much so. So what I will say is that, because this is going to take quite a lot of physical exertion to, hold on tight for the journey... Roll the 2d6 and we'll add flat 2d6 because you are hurt, but you're still using your tool to help you.
I also want to say, I have to hold on. Ariana, please, Silk. My hands.
Oh, okay, I'll give you...
Tie me to the parachute.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you a +1 then for Ariana webbing your hands.
Cool. Holy shit!
What did you get?
Well, one fell off the table, but it's a 6 on the floor, and the one that stayed on the table is a 6.
Oh boy, Boxcars, look at that.
We finally did it. After, what, 3 or 4? No, 3 snake eyes and 1 pair of 2s. We finally got a pair of 6s.
Wow. The rest of the tunnel kind of around you is, like, collapsing then from both your explosions and also from what happened from trying to remove the wand and stuff like that. But Ariana has webbed your hands, and even though you are feeling pretty weak, you do manage to kind of hold this thing on as you do float down into the chasm below. Fortunately for you, there is something down here. It is running water, and as you can kind of see, it is leading out to an open piece of light that is just beyond this cave. And as you are moving through this cave, there is something odd that you notice to the left and right of you.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
Camps of rat people.
Wait, what of rat people?
Camps of them.
Camps?
Camps of them. Like little nests of rat people have set themselves up in these caves next to the waterways.
Okay, so yeah, Pontiac sort of like tips her hat at them and just says, "Hello there, strangers." Just sort of like nonchalant, wrapping the tarp back up to stuff in her backpack.
Okay. It's just flown in. My arms are killing me. Oh boy.
Yeah.
But you're gonna leave. Yep, you're just gonna leave them be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They look. Oh, sorry.
I assume they can. We speak the same language. I assume.
I don't know. That's a bit of an assumption.
Oh, maybe not.
Do
do they respond to "Hello there, strangers"?
They just look a little bit shocked, and then they're even more shocked from the sounds of what's happening, like, further up from them. Sounds like it's collapsing through.
Yeah.
They don't seem hostile, though.
Yeah, Pontiac points up and just says, "Watch your head," and sort of, mimes, knocking on the top of her head. She doesn't, of course, because, Ariana's in there, but, does just to get the idea across.
And with that, you're just going to leave the situation, then?
Yeah, just sort of confidently stroll out. None of them seem in a talking mood, so she won't bother asking them, about the golems or such. And is just gonna, sort of whistling, give a confident stroll through the shallow stream towards.
And as you do eventually emerge on the other side and find yourself quite south of some of the coastlines of Trotlara.
Hearing the distant screams of rat people as, giant rocks collapse down into their village.
Yeah. You may see, one or two rat people, scurrying out, I suppose. But, yeah. You do hear the sound of catastrophe happening behind you.
Wouldn't be one of my characters without,
an explosion.
Yeah. Massive destruction.
But you check on yourself. You still have the snooker case with the magic wand in it. You have all your animal friends intact. And although you are missing a grappling hook, everything seems to be A-okay.
And, standing outside, in the sunlight, hands on her hips, legs splayed, power stance, looking around, just says, "Well, fellas, we'll be sure to pad the bill on that grappling hook and, see if they can't compensate us for a few times what it's worth, and job well done, team."
They all, Ariana sticks out one of their arms to shake your hand.
Yeah.
The bat shakes its wing with you, and Snake just shakes his head in your hand like an arm.
Yeah.
Nice case.
Okay, yeah.
I guess I'll ask you. So the wand will be returned then to them?
Yeah, I might do a little bit of investigating with it, comparing, seeing if I can spot any runes or anything on my notes. Gonna be writing up a paper on these golems being the main thing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you this then. One last thing before you head off, which is you kind of put the case on a rock to kind of prop it up, and then you open it back up to have a look at this wand. The first thing that you immediately notice is that it is about maybe a meter long, and it's made out of pure reflective metal. And there are etched runes on it, but right at the bottom and quite small. They aren't similar to... They're in a similar style, but they aren't similar to the symbols that you saw within that system, though.
Gotcha. Interesting.
And as you kind of have a look around it, no, this thing is completely solid. Like, you shake it to see if there's any, like, loose rubies inside. Nope, that is nothing there. It, like I said, it just feels like a completely solid piece of etched metal, essentially.
Yeah.
And you see your reflection in it, because it's that shiny.
Oh, I guess it didn't come up, but I did spend time doing notes. You know, I assume I did also, like, fill in more of the map as I explored more, and...
Oh, sure.
You know, now after, like, escaping through those tunnels, gonna, like, also chart that out, but also, like, note, you know, like, caved in over.
Oh yeah, you're just going through and you're like you're crossing it off like, okay, so that's gone, that's gone. All of this stuff I just scribbled in, yeah, that's all gone. Scribble.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You know, this is what it used to like. Here's the original map, and this is what it looks like now in a piece of paper that's just like all scribbles.
So here's all the stuff I discovered, and then here's all the stuff that's now destroyed, and they just completely match up. Like, it's all just the stuff that they already knew about that is still somehow intact. But I guess what I will ask with that then, Pontiac, is that this little adventure that you've gone on, looking for a magic wand, has nicely wrapped itself up. So what I will ask is, what happens next from here?
So I think Pontiac is going to, you know, with the lens and whatnot and charting things, is going to publish a paper on, you know, actually interacting with some of these ancient stone golem automatons. And, you know, once the paper's published and, you know, she has her findings out there may be some doubters, but after that, the next logical step would be to work with some people of magical expertise to try and recreate them. You know, she has these runes down and, you know, a pretty good idea of the basics of how they work, and
sure.
And I think that would be her next big project, setting about, you know, recreating these things and proving that she did discover and confirm them, and have that go down as one of her many successful archaeological discoveries.
And I would say that this is probably a very big one in regards to modern Trottle era technology, or like modern Kingdom technology in general, just doesn't look like this stuff, but they will likely be able to maybe backwards engineer it and apply that to the magic that they do know, and even the technology that they have come up with since, to almost create a new age of innovation from here. So that's quite exciting. But more so, she does take the wand to the royal family, and obviously she is, as promised, compensated, not just for the job that she did, but also any injuries incurred. And
she pads the bill quite a bit. You know, she milks them hemlocks for quite a deal of money.
But I think they're quite happy to pay for it, because this is something that they do kind of give you a little bit of additional information, considering the fact that you did put your life on the line for this, which is, this is something they've been looking for in regards to a potential solution to an issue that they are having with the king and queen right now. So, hopefully, that may work itself out. But I suppose we'll have to see how in later adventures of Quest and Show. But quite a nice place for Pontiac to end, I think. Almost like a nice mirroring of the beginning. She's found herself another little cafe to have herself a black whiskey, a black coffee and whiskey, and another whiskey for her little pals. And before she knows it, somebody else has come up to her, asking if she would be interested in another job.
There's always work when you don't have much scruples about what kind of jobs you'll take.
Very true.
That's what my mama always said.
I think that's it. So, Em, how did you find your second episode of Quest and Show?
That went, well, I mean, rolled very poorly, And yet, somehow, that seemed the most straightforward, successful adventure I've seen yet in Quest and Show, quite oddly.
Quite oddly, yeah. A lot of things managed to nicely fall into place, I think.
Was given an adventuring job, completed it successfully, no major, swindling or major lies or deception.
A lot of deception, not a lot of flim-flamming. A lot of explosions, but sometimes that's to be expected.
Yeah.
In things like this. So, hey,
and I think it says a lot that the one, session that has no deception or flim-flam or, none of that stuff, that's just good old-fashioned adventuring, is the one that had, pretty terrible luck in terms of rolls.
I will say somebody did play a con man earlier on in this series, and oh boy, their rolls were... They were something else. It was almost straight 10s the entire time. So, a very powerful person who has actually managed to work themselves up into quite a position of power either way. So, yeah. Exciting stuff.
Exciting stuff.
But, thank you very much for coming back, because, this was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you got to play a new character in Quest and Show.
Me too. I had fun.
Good. And I guess before we wrap up, are there any last minute plugs or anything you want to send people to?
I guess, there's Commentary Comms if you want me to beset that upon your viewers. A hit YouTube channel that's been very successful after 10 years of existence.
Is it your 10-year anniversary this year?
It is. Back in March was our 10-year anniversary with, about 20 active subscribers to show for it, so...
Well, hey, that's 2 subscribers a year. That's pretty good.
Yeah, right?
That's better than channels that have 0 subscribers after 10 years.
Yeah, it's better than my channel.
Well, there we go. So, and did you do anything good to celebrate the 10 years, or are you planning to?
No. We made a song and didn't release it. So there's that.
Alright. Is the plan that if you get enough subs, the song will be released?
I think so, yeah. If we can eclipse to Snaker's channel in subscribers, and then be able to call ourselves a success, maybe, yeah.
But there we go. Well, there we go. People at home. That's a reason to subscribe. Let's get on it. And obviously links to that will be in the description below. But like I said again, thank you very much for coming back.
Thank you for having me again. I had a lot of fun.
Good. And I've been James, the GM of this. You can find me on Twitter at HotCider. And I'd also like to thank the Patreon producers that made this episode possible. They include VG, Valerie B, Chasm, and Undercover Squirrel. If you'd like to support the show or any work I do, please consider joining me over at patreon.com/HotCider, where you'll even get early access to episodes of Quest in Show. Until the next episode of Quest and Show, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Bye.